Hey there, geeks! I'm Kevin Andrew Rivera.
And I'm Raul Ceballos.
You're listening to Real Geek News,
a monthly podcast where we geek out about movies, TV, and streaming.
We got a month's worth of news to talk about, so without further ado,
let's get geeky.
We apologize in advance for being so late.
So sorry, guys. So sorry.
We have had life happen for a bit, and Kevin also has a dog, as I told you all last month, and now I am good. So next month, we'll be on time. I swear to God.
Well, but yeah, we're a little behind. It's been, about a week since the beginning of April?
Yeah,
So we just to for a kind of make good, we're gonna include some topics from this past week, right? So a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is March. We're covering March and a little bit of April.
Everything that feels more relevant to talk about that's happened last month and a little bit of this month. So you get some extra bonus points this month, you guys. But hello, all you listeners. Thank you for coming to
Hey guys.
TED Talk. Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
I'm Anime Steve. We got a lot of topics as you heard in the intro. So why don't we jump right on into it? We'll start off with all the tough stuff first, and then I guess the first one's the tough one, and then everything else is kind of okay. But yeah, don't worry, we'll jump right into it. So we got our first topic here. We got Jonathan Majors is arrested. All right, so this comes to us from Variety. Excuse me. So it says Majors was arrested over the weekend in Manhattan and charged with assault and harassment following a domestic dispute with a 30-year-old woman, according to authorities. After New York police responded on Saturday to a 911 call at an apartment in Chelsea, Majors was taken into custody without incident. The unnamed victim was later taken to the hospital with minor injuries to her head and neck, according to authorities. And this is a quote. Mr. Majors completely denies assaulting the woman, his criminal defense lawyer Priya it's a girl, my bad, said in Thursday's statement. She also alleges that it was Majors who called 911. The police arrived with the paramedics, as is standard procedure, and arrested Mr. Majors due to an NYPD protocol requiring arrest in certain circumstances, Chaudhry added. She also disavowed any allegations, now she's British, that he had done anything to her and confirmed that Mr. Majors called 911 because of her mental condition. Okay. TLDR. They're claiming that he didn't do anything wrong, and the lawyer is very confident that Mr. Jonathan Majors is going to be innocent, and all this serious stuff will be, we'll get through it, and everything will be fine. But yes, you're right, Raul. My apologies, everybody. This is a very serious thing. Jonathan Majors, he's getting into it right now, so it's kind of frustrating. Raul, I want to hear your thoughts about this first, because I've got everything in my head, but my brain's going everywhere.
Ooh, I mean, okay, first of all, this is not just, anytime you hear anything about this in general, this is just, it's so disappointing to hear, just because you hear something about, for example, somebody like Jonathan Majors, really great actor. I mean, we've seen him already pop up in a few things now, and he's shown a lot of promise. And so it's really kind of sad when you see people like this, these things come out about them, these little dark things that come out about them, allegedly, and we still, the truth will eventually show itself at some point. But this is not a good look. And if that is the truth, that is horrible and should, that should be, what am I trying to say? It's just bad. It's bad. If this is true, it's horrible. And, people should not be doing this to women, you know? And totally. So this is just, it's not okay. And hopefully, if that's the case, then he gets, tried accordingly and sentenced accordingly. And, so, but yeah. So that's just the general kind of thing about that.
Now, I think
go ahead.
I was going to say the lawyer also claimed that, the victim also said let me just read this quote, this final quote that I was totally going British on. She also disavowed any allegations that he had done anything to her and confirmed that Mr. Majors called 911 because of her mental condition. So you're already getting evidence, I suppose, that the person who was so-called assaulted was saying that she was not assaulted. Like everything that happened for a reason, and it wasn't that he was just beating her down or something like that. Something happened between the two that none of us know about. We don't have all the full details.
There's been other things that have come out lately about this, specifically about the quote unquote evidence that has come out, and it still doesn't look good for Jonathan Majors. If anything, and I'll have to find the source, but basically what I've seen is that these texts don't really exonerate him. If anything, the texts make it look like she's being forced to write this. And again, I'll have to find the source for that. But that's there have been developments that have come out since this initial story, which came out on March 30th, by the way, just to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
But there's been other stuff that has come out about this so-called evidence that still doesn't quite clear things up.
Hey, fellow geeks, this is a post-recording I'm doing right now for a quick second. I just wanted to read a little bit of more of the text message information for you guys in case anybody wanted to know what the text messages had. It does make a lot of good points for Raul as well from what he's mentioned, so I'd like you guys to listen to this. An attorney for Jonathan Majors released text messages on Thursday that he claims came from the woman who he is accused of assaulting, in which she appears to take the blame for the fight. According to the messages, which have not been independently verified, the woman wrote Majors afterwards that I, quote unquote, I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. She also said that she was angry that Majors had been arrested and that she had made clear that the charges did not have her blessings. Quote again, I reiterated how this was not an attack, the woman allegedly wrote. The person who sent the text also indicates that she had injuries and that we had a fight. The article goes on to say stuff about how the woman allegedly wrote, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did, and I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. In the follow-up text messages, which was sent a few hours later, she says, they just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack and they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank this did not occur and should be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She ensured this to me. I know you have the best team and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm going to do all I can on my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out, and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. Out of care, she promised all will be relayed. So clearly this is a very messy situation. Does it show us signs of a toxic relationship? I think so. That's up to you to decide as well. Does this give us the idea that the attorneys forced her to send these messages? Maybe. We're not really 100% sure about that. Something else I should point out is that we haven't seen Jonathan Majors' responses to her text messages. So again, we don't know the full-on story of what's going on. All we know is that this is a complete mess. But please make sure that you collect as much information about this topic specifically before you make strong opinions, because this is a very, very sensitive topic. Also, I want to make it clear that no matter how messy the situation might be, violence is never the answer. There should never be an excuse for that kind of nonsense. Okay, back to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. Yeah, well, and also there's some other articles that have been coming out during April, beginning of April, claiming that a bunch of companies have been dropping Jonathan Majors for a lot of ads and stuff like that. So, that I totally understand. Like, it makes total sense. If I was running a company and I had Jonathan Majors as the lead of my ads, and now he's doing this, I just don't want to be caught up in that mess right now. So whether or not he's guilty, because we haven't had a confirmation just yet, I as a business owner wouldn't want him to be a part of my stuff for now. If something were to be, if everything turned out all right and he cleared his name, then fine. But right now, it's a good business strategy to keep that away from yourself and just let them figure this whole thing out. One of the things I'm thinking about is, how do his other movies affect this? Like, how does this affect his movie roles? Because he was just one of the stars in Creed III. He was just the star in the Devotion film. Also, he's Kang the Conqueror. Marvel must be sweating bullets right now.
This is the white elephant in the room. I mean,
yeah.
What does Marvel do with this?
Yeah.
And apparently, there's been. I'm sorry if you had. If I
no, go ahead.
But apparently, it has also come out that Marvel is currently talking to Jonathan Majors reps to kind of look at their options. I think is what the quote has said, to look at options, and who knows what the hell that means.
Yeah.
But
Options as in finding someone else, or options as in like
options. That's
just
it.
options.
That's all. That's all that has been said. Again, well, I don't know what the hell that means.
Well, then, Raul, let me ask you this: if Jonathan Majors did do what he did, and Marvel decided to let go of him, would you want to see another actor replace all the Kangs and all these other characters that he's going to be playing in the Marvel universe?
I mean, they'll have to recast.
I mean,
Kang is now, the ball's rolling on Kang. The Kang is now such a big part of what's to come. I mean, he's the freaking Thanos of these next 3 phases. There's no, you can't turn that back. You can't rewrite Kang Dynasty. You can't rewrite Secret Wars if he happens to be involved in that. He's the overarching threat for the next 2-3 years now. So
like, dude,
there's no way you can just write him out.
He just gets to the prime of his career, and suddenly this one thing dips him all the way back down.
It really does suck. Like, he has just now kind of started to hit his stride as far as fame and getting decent work, both dramatic work and these big budget kind of superhero films. So he was the guy on the rise. He was the guy we were all looking out for. He's the one to watch. And then this happens, and it's just so ill-timed, and it just doesn't look good for him. So we've already talked about in general what this means for him, and how horrible this is if this turns out to be true. But now we're kind of shifting over, right? We're talking about specifically Marvel. What does Marvel do with this? What are their options? They say they're looking at options. Kevin, what do you think these options are?
I mean, based on this conversation so far, there's a couple of things they could do. They could just not do anything. That's option number 1. They could just say, hey, let's pull an Ezra Miller and just stay silent until everything kind of dies down. And then we'll just move on with our stuff, whatever we got to do, because it looked like it worked for some actors. Why not for Jonathan Majors? Option number 2, fire him. Obviously, we'll replace him with someone else. But who would want to replace Jonathan Majors and be the next Kang the Conqueror in a multiversal film? I don't know. But that's going to be really big shoes to fill,
And also the thing is because I've heard people say, oh, well, you can easily replace him with another actor because you can just say he's a variant or whatever. And okay, that's fine. But how do you explain the Council of Kangs?
Yeah.
Right? The Kang Dynasty that we've already seen. Spoilers, by the way, for Ant-Man and the Lost Quantumania. Hopefully you've seen it by now.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, we've already seen the Kang Dynasty. We've seen Jonathan Majors play all these different versions of Kang who look to be the villains that we'll set up, later on. We'll probably see them in the Kang Dynasty. So you got to replace all those people too, so you can't just say, oh, it's a variant, because we got to specifically talk about, especially those 3 main ones at the end in the end credits scene, those 3 main ones. You can't just say those are variants. If you cast another actor, those have to be those same 3 ones. So it's kind of tricky. Like, if you have to recast, I mean, we just have to look. Audiences are not dumb. Audiences will adapt if they recast. Especially like people like us who know the behind the scenes stuff. Everything that's going on. Like, okay, they had to recast because the Jonathan Majors, got in trouble, whatever. We'll get over it, right? People will get over it if the movies are good, if the movies are fun, if people like them. If the actor that replaces him is good, that's another thing. Like, they have to replace him with another good actor. We can get over that, right? We can kind of forget that.
It might be just a little harder though, because
it'll be hard.
He's just such a big character, like that's he's literally the center of the universe now for the next 10 years.
It's tough. It's tough.
So I wonder. Well, I guess not 10 years, because I think Secret Wars is 2025 or 6 or something like that. But I think
26. Yeah.
I think it could be, I guess, as simple as doing like a Iron Man 2 situation with Terrence Howard when he was replaced. And Robert Downey Jr. shows up in the courtroom and goes, "Hey, did you get a haircut? Yeah, I did. Let's move on. Let's go." And just we get over it and move on. But I don't know. I personally, all right, this is a hot take. I don't think I like Jonathan Majors' performance as Kang. Wait on a second, hold on. Yeah, that's right. But let me explain.
Interesting.
Let me explain. Okay. I think I loved all of his scenes during the time when we were watching Quantumania and stuff like that. But once I started seeing his other variants towards the end of Quantumania, I just thought he was so theatrical by the end that there was a part of me that kind of disconnected a little bit. And it took me a while to have this thought because I didn't feel this way when when we did our movie review. But I did get to watch Quantumania again recently, and I started feeling a little bit different about it. But I don't know, maybe I'll have a change of heart again if he ever gets the chance to play these characters again. That'd be awesome for him. But listen, abusing other people is no easy thing to talk about. Again, I apologize in advance for making light of it.
Nor is it okay. Any kind of domestic abuse.
Nothing like that is okay. I don't think fighting anybody for any reason is ever the answer. Unless you're punching Nazis in the face, then that's okay. But yeah, I think this is such a delicate thing, and we kind of just have to wait and see what happens. That there's also, I'm going to try to figure out how to segue this right now because we're going to move on to our next topic here. But all right, ready for this? This is my segue. You know who else they replaced in a movie was Crabbe from Crabbe and Goyle and Harry Potter, because he got into a drug situation, I think. And really? He got arrested or something like that. And so they replaced him with another actor. They didn't replace him. They just replaced his character with another character.
Yeah.
At the end of the Deathly Hallow movie. And so, speaking of Harry Potter,
there we go. That was such a stretch.
That was a rough one. That was just, that was not good. But so we got our next topic here. We got Harry Potter reboot series on HBO Max. This comes to us from Collider. Warner Brothers is reportedly nearing a deal to set up a Harry Potter television series at HBO Max. While the deal has not yet been finalized, Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling is said to be spearheading development and is close to boarding the series as a producer along with Warner Bros. Television. Details are slim, but according to Bloomberg, each season of the In the Works series will be based on one of Rowling's 7 Harry Potter books. This likely means that there will be a new story emerging that coincide with the events of the book and subsequent films. Bloomberg reported that Warner Bros. And HBO are hoping to delve further into the world of Rowling's books by creating extended plot lines within each season. Now, okay, I have had so many thoughts about the Harry Potter continuation stuff, and I'm sure you and I have talked about this a million times, man. Like, I like the idea of making a Lily Potter series on HBO Max. Like, I would have loved to have seen all of Harry's parents or adult figures as kids. That would have been really cool. I would have loved to see Godric Gryffindor.
The formation of the original Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah, the original Order of the Phoenix. I would have loved to see the organization of Hogwarts for the first time with all the original founding fathers and lady. Helga Ravenclaw, right? Or is that Helga Hufflepuff? I'm blanking out right now, but there's... yeah, I know there's Godric Gryffindor, Salazar Slytherin, Helga Ravenclaw, or Helga Hufflepuff, and then something else, one of the others. But yeah, the founding people of Hogwarts, that would have been an awesome series to watch as well. I would have loved to see Harry Potter becoming an Auror kind of series where he's an adult and he's taking care of his family. His kids are in Hogwarts while he's off fighting more Death Eaters that were left behind after Voldemort. That would be really cool. But instead they're taking a different route, which I think makes sense because, well, hear me out. If I were Daniel Radcliffe and somebody asked me, hey, do you want to continue being Harry? I'd say no as well, because I'm Daniel Radcliffe. It took me 10 years to break myself out of the mold of being Harry Potter all the time. Right. And now you're going to ask me to come right back? I'm not into that. Like, it took me way too long. I don't want to have to do that all over again. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Weird with Weird Al Yankovic, but Daniel Radcliffe plays an incredible Weird Al in that movie that is just a parody of other biopics for musicians.
He's gotten better and better as the years have gone on. He's become such a really good actor in his own right, and he's only gotten better, and you know, has learned in between each of his films, has honed in on his craft,
Yeah.
and has become a phenomenal actor.
Dude, if you look at his IMDb credits, like he's got like Horns, What If, the Weird Movie. He's done the one with the magicians where they're all like secret spy or like, you know what I mean? Now
Now you see
it.
me.
Now you see me. I think that's the one. Which I guess they kind of tilted towards his magic stuff, but he was the main bad guy in that.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Swiss Army Man. That's a great
Mm-hmm.
movie. He was trying so many different things. So why in God's name would you want to come back? Also, I swear I'll let you have your input, Raul. But the
No problem.
the idea of doing each season as each book interests me a lot because there's a lot of Harry Potter fans who didn't like the movies because they weren't as good as the books. Now this series could actually flesh out all the book information and more than that. I like comparing it to The Last of Us because The Last of Us series added a bunch of extra scenes here and there that we never saw in the games, and it really fleshed out the rest of the world in a way that I didn't expect, and I really, really enjoyed. I love the Harry Potter movies. There is a part of me that goes, why retell the same story? However, if you have new things to show us and present to us to tell the story in a better way, I'm down to give it a shot. But if it's scene by scene, word for word, everything that happens in the book, and that's it, then I don't think there should be a point in doing that. I would love to see the Godric Gryffindor series one. That would have been so cool, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm open to giving it a shot. Raul, I'm passing it on to you. What do you think, man?
I'm really torn about this because if I were Warner Brothers, if I were David Zaslav, and I go up to Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, and Dan Radcliffe, as he's known now, and I said, you want to continue the Harry Potter films, and you want to step back into these roles again, and they tell me no. That's when maybe you should pivot and do something else. And then, leave Harry and them alone. Do the Hogwarts formation origin movie. Do the Lily Potter, whatever. Do something else. Why are we retreading this again? Like, sure. And this is the only thing, like you pointed out, this is the only thing that I feel like could be interesting about all this is that because you're doing it as a series, you have more room to expand. And look, I never read the books. I'm a super fan of the movies. I love the films. My wife is a huge Harry Potter fan. She's read all the books, so familiar with all of them. And we would watch the movies, and she would tell me about all the stuff in between that they didn't really include in the movies. Because sometimes, especially when you get to those later ones, you watch the movies, and I was feeling like, there's something missing here. Did I miss something? I feel like this is kind of glazed over, and we would pause the movie and my wife would be like, oh yeah, by the way, this is what happened in the books. They kind of gloss over it. So there's a lot more detail in the books, so much that was left out of the films for obvious reasons, because you got to condense the stories down into a half hour, hour and a half, 2 hour films. So a TV series gives you a chance to expand and explore all that and fill in those gaps and really get into the details that the books get into,
Right.
And you have so much more room to breathe. You can more faithfully adapt the books. And especially if you're devoting a whole season per book, I mean, you can really do a lot of deep dives. So that is really the only thing that could be really cool about this is getting even more detail. That being said, we're still retreading the same story. Like that's just one of the things I feel like could turn some people off and has me scratching my head a little bit. Is like, sure, that would be cool to get all this detail, but like, don't we want to look somewhere else too? I mean, like, that would be like, we finished the Star Wars trilogy, and then like 10 years later, we're like, okay, we're gonna go back and tell the Star Wars movies again, but we're gonna do them as a TV show. And it's like, well, we already have the series. Like, let's do other things. There's a big universe you can go expand on. Why are we retreading that? Also, the other thing I think gives me pause about how people will react to this is the fact that J.K. Rowling is involved.
Yeah, let's talk
And
about that.
let's talk about that because she has, in recent years, become a little bit more of a problematic figure. With her comments about transgender, the transgender people and things like that. Um, and that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, understandably so, very justifiably so. So she has been kind of a divisive figure amongst the Harry Potter fandom. And it was one of the reasons why she was kind of left out of that wonderful HBO Max reunion special that they did, but she was not involved in that. And that was a very purposeful decision to not alienate people.
Mm.
So the fact that she's involved, I just wonder how many people this is going to rub the wrong way. And is this are people going to be interested in this?
Yeah.
Because of those two reasons, J.K. Rowling's involvement and the fact that we're just kind of seeing the same, we're revisiting the story when we could be doing other things. So I wonder how much of those two things is going to kind of repel people from this.
I think that there is others. Man, it's very difficult to talk about this part because I know a lot of people don't like hearing it most of the time, but I like to refer to the business side of things as well. And when you look at, for example, the Harry Potter special got so many views on HBO Max, it almost crashed the entire server of HBO Max.
It was very well done.
So you already know that this IP is still very, very popular. Then you have the Hogwarts Legacy video game that came out recently, which I know there was a lot of negative comments toward it, but it is the most sold video game of the year right now. It's done a lot of numbers and it's made a lot of money for Warner Brothers. It's kind of incredible how much money it's made, even though there's so many people who've been hating on it. I think
really?
a lot of people.
I hear nothing but positive things.
Well, maybe I spend too much time on Twitter then because there's a lot of people on Twitter. Yeah, it's a lot of the topic of transphobia and stuff like that with J.K. Rowling, where like if she's involved, I don't want to be a part of it because that means I'm helping her support those political points of view.
Yeah.
I understand that point of view, but also
same issue here with this. Yeah.
When you look at the numbers, if I'm a businessman at the company that's I'm working at HBO Max and I'm working with Warner Brothers Discovery, and I see these numbers. I don't care what happens. If I know this is going to make me more money, I'm going to do it. That sounds so horrible for a lot of people listening because I'm sure we all have our opinions about that. But that's just the way the money rolls for these companies, and they're following that because they know that to play it safe and to ensure that they're going to make money and get viewership out of these new streaming services that they're working on, they have to do things like this. I think a lot of people, I've also heard, they're saying they don't hate Harry Potter, the IP, because we all grew up loving Harry Potter. It's just the fact that they don't want J.K. Rowling to have a part in it. But unfortunately, that's always going to be the case unless she sells the rights to all of her stuff, which I don't see happening anytime soon. I think J.K. Rowling will always be a part of this world because she's the one that created it.
It's her world. Yeah, it's her world. Unless she pulls a George Lucas and sells it for like billions of dollars.
Yeah, unless she does that. But I don't see her doing that anytime soon. I think she has a very different point of view than George Lucas does. But I think, the good thing about this project for anybody who's really stressed about this situation or this topic is that she's not the one who's running the show. She's only the person who has input on the creative choices that they make on it. So, she's not the one directing it. She's not the one writing it. I mean, she wrote the books, but she's not
based off of her. Yeah.
She's not the one doing the screenplay. She's only greenlighting people's creative choices. And she says, cool, that works in my world. I know that, I don't know. It's still a very tough thing. But the other thing I want to discuss is the casting choices for this project specifically. You're going to have to find actors that are going to replace all these original actors from the movies.
Yeah.
Because you can't bring back, I mean, look at this. Hagrid, the actor who plays Hagrid, passed away, sadly, a couple of months ago. Same thing with, Alan Rickman. He also passed away a couple years ago after the movie ended or the franchise ended. You've got actors like the guy who played the original Dumbledore passed away. They're not gonna. I'm pretty sure Michael Gambon's not gonna want to come back to do a TV series. We're gonna have to recast everybody. And now we live in a day and age where these Harry Potter movies are already done and over with. So the kids who are going to come into these projects to work on these shows, this is 7 seasons worth of content. That's like almost 10 to 14 years possibly of kids having to work on this content. So you're going to tell me that you're going to be a 10-year-old boy and you're going to look at this and not be overwhelmed by the shoes that you're going to have to fill to be as good as Daniel Radcliffe and, Emma Watson and Rupert Grint. Like, these guys are going to have so much ahead of them that I don't know if they see it coming. Maybe the businessmen do, maybe the parents might, but I don't know. It's an interesting kind of thing to think about. They're starting over this franchise in a way. I wonder also, Raul, I swear we're going to move on after this, you guys, but I wonder also if, because they're rebooting this, does that mean that they're hoping to sign more contracts for these actors that are going to be the new stars and continue their stories after the books as well? Do you think if I was a 10-year-old kid right now and I got cast as Harry Potter and I signed a deal to do 7 seasons, at some point, is HBO Max going to approach me and say, hey, you got it, kid. Why don't you sign this other contract? That way you can do 3 movies of Harry Potter after the 7th season is over as an adult or Harry Potter. Because Daniel Radcliffe said, no, you're going to do it. Would that be a possibility as well? Also, would there be possibilities of doing all those other spin-off shows that I talked about earlier because of the fact that they're putting this stuff out? There's a lot to think about. I know I just flooded everybody with a lot of word vomit of Harry Potter, a lot of magic, but I think that it's titillating is what I will say. That it's a very interesting topic to have, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I don't know. If I were, I think that's the idea, is to, if I were David Zaslav, and David Zaslav has gone on record in trying to, and being very vocal about how he wants the Harry Potter franchise to come back and be one of the crown jewels, one of the staples of Warner Brothers as a company, as a studio. He's been very vocal about that. So, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that this is not the end. This is not the beginning and the end of this series. This is ideally, he would like this to lead to other things and, spin-offs. Honestly, I feel like this series might be the baseline for everything else that comes after it. I think the films in that universe and the, Fantastic Beasts, I almost wonder if that's the end of an era, if that's it. This new Harry Potter series, I wonder if this is going to be a new continuity, and then everything spanning from that will be connected to that continuity. Spin-offs, everything, continuations, prequel series. I think this new show could be the baseline for a new continuity, and everything following it is only going to be attached to that.
Yeah.
So that's just my guess, because otherwise, why would you make a reboot and then go and make a spin-off series or spin-off movie and have that be associated with the Daniel Radcliffe, era movie? No, it's going to get too messy. You would want to start. This is setting the baseline, right? That's how it sounds to me. So
Harry Potter multiverse. That's what it's going to happen.
We're going to get Daniel Radcliffe coming back.
We really like what Marvel's doing with their multiverse stuff. Let's do Harry Potter multiverse.
Yeah,
and a universe where
Harrys.
Voldemort won. Let's enter that realm.
This is my guess is this is a new baseline here for a new continuity, and everything else is just going to be attached to it. So of course, this is not. David Zaslav wants to continue this, and if that means a continuation after Deathly Hallows, the Deathly Hallows season, the final season, I'm sure they're probably going to go to J.K. Rowling for guidance on that. Or if this is simply they're going to do some spin-offs and prequels or something like that. This is not the end. They're going to, this isn't just a one and done here with this show. They're going to continue with it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, then, I think, again, what you just said, the spin-off stuff totally could go into Harry Potter becoming an horror. Again, the child star thing, I worry about those kids. Hopefully they'll know what's going on. I don't know. It'll be really hard to replace these original actors that already did this.
Yeah.
But also it's interesting to see how it could become a cinematic universe kind of thing, but through streaming service. Like they could be pulling off like a Mandalorian Ahsoka thing becoming a Mandalorian movie in the end. So there's a lot to look forward to, but there's also a lot of stress about it. But you know what? Let's talk about another book series here, because we do have our next topic, Game of Thrones Aegon Targaryen prequel film and series. This comes to us from Variety. Hey there, geeks. This is future Kevin in post-production again. I had a sound technical difficulty issue here, so I'm going to read the article for you right now, and then we'll hop right back to past Kevin's thoughts on this stuff. Okay, here we go. So we got a new Game of Thrones prequel about Aegon the First Targaryen's conquest of Westeros is being actively discussed at HBO. Variety has learned exclusively from sources. As the project is in its very early stages, no writer is currently attached, though sources say that the search is underway as HBO is keen to move forward and get into it. Sources also say that there may be a feature component to the project, i.e. HBO and Warner Bros. Would produce a feature film that would then lead into the potential series, though plans remain in flux at present. The show would tell the story of how Aegon and his sister wives, Visenya and Rhaenys, used their army and their 3 dragons to conquer 6 of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, with the exception of Dome. In doing so, Aegon I became the first king of Westeros, the first to sit on the Iron Throne, and the founder of the Targaryen dynasty. Those events took place approximately 300 years prior to the events of Game of Thrones. You know what's interesting is there's a lot of people who always make the claim of, what's the point of prequels? We already know what happens. But it's like the journey to see how that happened. I was in love with episodes 1, 2, and 3 for Star Wars when I saw them, even though we already know what's going to happen to Anakin Skywalker. You know, we already know what's going to happen to Obi-Wan Kenobi. What's the point? The point is now you could watch it from the beginning to the very end and actually enjoy the entire plot for what it is. Now, I know, Raul, you haven't watched too much Game of Thrones, right?
Okay, come at me with your torches and pitchforks, everybody. But yes, I did not get into Game of Thrones. Listen, my wife and I, we watched the first 3 episodes, and it was a lot. It was very dark, and it was really hard to get through because, I mean, it was good. The twists and stuff were very intriguing and stuff, but it was just really heavy. And after a while, we were like, let's take a break. Let's get into a comedy. Let's binge a comedy show or something like that. And then we just never got around to it. And I still haven't gotten around to it to this day. And especially I'm the kind of person, like when I hear like a show has ended, and especially if people are like, yeah, the ending wasn't great, then I'm like, oh, well then I don't know if I want to watch it. Because if it's going to end on a sour note, you know, I don't like with what was it? Dexter. You know, for a while I was like, I gotta get in. I gotta watch Dexter. And then the season, the final season came around. Everybody's like, it's not good. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not gonna watch Dexter. I don't know. But anyway,
I feel that.
I just never got around to Game of Thrones. So I'm sorry. Please yell at me. Go ahead.
Boo!
Yeah,
as
but
Squidward said.
It's one of those gaps in my pop culture consumption.
Well, I will say, the last Game of Thrones project that came out on HBO Max, House of the Dragon, that's a prequel to the original series.
Right.
So, and that is 1,000,000,000% worth watching. The ending is awesome as well. So I would recommend watching the prequels if you don't like the original stuff.
Mm.
It's actually the reason why I'm actually kind of excited about this project, because Aegon Targaryen, like the first of his name, you know, that's kind of cool to think about, this badass warrior who just dethroned everybody. Of course, he's married to 2 of his sisters, which is very Targaryen of him.
Sister wives.
Wives. Yeah, I don't know how that was like growing up, but you know, it is what it is. They wanted to keep their blood pure for each other. That gives me the heebie-jeebies. But I mean, listen, it sounds like HBO Max is really, or Warner Brothers really, is thinking about how to expand their streaming service. I mean, look at Harry Potter. We've got the Harry Potter series, and now we've got more cinematic universe type of stuff going on with Game of Thrones. They're expanding all their content because they realize that that's the best way to get more viewers. They're just copying Marvel and Star Wars at this point. I think Marvel started it all, but Star Wars has been learning from Marvel, and now every other streaming service follows along after Disney. And I think it's working because, again, if you're promising us that we're going to have content that's just as good as House of the Dragon, I say go for it. Do it and make it awesome, and I will be one of the first people to watch it. Yes, the ending of Game of Thrones kind of rubs people off the wrong way. I'm one of those people that thought it was okay. I will say that. I thought it was okay. It wasn't.
It rubbed people off the wrong way, you said?
Dear God, there are a lot of naked people in this series. Doesn't matter what version of the show you watch. There are a lot of naked people, and that's just a given. But
good God,
yeah, it is what it is. But no, again, I'm looking forward to it. I like the idea though of them starting it off as a movie and then going into a TV series. It's almost like they're doing the opposite of The Mandalorian, where Mandalorian has a show, and now it's going to turn into a movie with Dave Filoni. Which also, may I just add, Star Wars Celebration is happening right now as we speak, and we will be talking about that sometime this upcoming week.
It is April 7th, and look out for an episode coming next week.
Yes.
We talk about Star Wars Celebration.
And as you can tell, I'm already excited to talk about it. So, there's going to be a lot to discuss. But yeah, again, I think the streaming services are all starting to follow along what Disney does. And it makes sense. I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones. If they want to continue this stuff in a way that could keep us interested still, that'd be great. I'm very curious about the origins of these types of things. So I'm looking forward to it. But again, Raul, I would recommend you watch House of the Dragon. It is very good.
Maybe I'll at least check out House of the Dragon. So I don't have to have seen Game of Thrones to watch House of the Dragon. Like to understand or enjoy House of the
Dragon takes place, I think, 150 years or 200 years before the original series. So if anything, it'll lead you into the original series. So you won't miss anything.
But it's only got one season, right? They're going to continue with more seasons, but so far it's just one season.
Correct. Yeah. And again, if they have the same showrunners, same writers, then I think the Aegon series is going to be just as good. And dang, House of the Dragon is incredible. But you know what? You know what's even better than the bloodline of the Targaryens? Getting Shrek'd, because Shrek blood is just as good as the Targaryens, nay, better than the Targaryens. And you know what's great about Shrek is that they're working on a Shrek 5, baby! Variety tells us over here. Beyond running Illumination, Meledandri, who sat down with Variety with Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto for this week's cover story on the making of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, also serves as a creative partner to DreamWorks Animation, and it looks to reboot the Shrek franchise. In that capacity, he's keen to see the return of the film's original voice cast, which includes Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, and Eddie Murphy for Shrek 5. He says here in this quote, "It's not that dissimilar to the process that we went through with Mario, where you look at what the core elements are that audiences have loved, and you do your very best to honor those core elements," Meledandri said. Why do they have such a strange name? "And then you're hard at work to build story elements and new characters that take you to brand new places. The original cast is a huge part of that. Though no deals are in place," he said, "negotiations with the actors are going well. We anticipate the cast coming back. Talks are starting now, and every indication that we've gotten is there's tremendous enthusiasm on behalf of the actors to return," he said. Listen, I don't think that's a reboot. I don't think that's a reboot of Shrek if they're bringing back the original cast. Right. And if you're going to call it Shrek 5, it's definitely not a reboot. That's another sequel. Is it called a sequel if it's a fifth movie? What do you call that?
It's a sequel, yeah.
Okay, good. It's not. It's like a saga, I guess, with all the movies. Yeah. But I think it's, to me, I think Shrek 1 and 2 are the best ones. And once you get to the Shrek the third and then the fourth, you're like, all right, well, you could kind of cut that for now.
Right.
It made sense to me business-wise why they would want to just put a hold on this whole thing. Plus the fact that Mike Myers retired, Cameron Diaz decided to retire, Eddie Murphy retired. They literally all retired around the same time.
But now it seems like they're all coming back.
There's like a resurgence.
Out of retirement. Mike Myers has done a few things already. There's Cameron Diaz is actually coming out of retirement. She's going to be doing a movie pretty soon. Her first movie back out of retirement. I cannot remember what it is, but it was announced.
Yeah, I do
And
not
Eddie
remember
Murphy's
either.
been back for a few years already doing stuff.
Yeah.
So they're all coming back. I mean,
not to mention Puss in Boots 2 really set it up for Shrek 5.
Right. There's renewed interest now in the IP because of Puss in Boots 2 and how successful it was.
But also, if you think about it this way, like I'm 28 years old, and when I first watched Shrek, I was like a preteen, not even, you know? And so growing up with this franchise, now that I'm like a quote unquote adult, I get to watch Shrek again and just be a fan of it because I grew up with it, right? This is definitely a play on nostalgia for sure. But also the really nice thing about this animation stuff, it makes me think of Puss in Boots 2 because Puss in Boots 1 and 2 are like 10 years apart from each other. I don't know if you knew that, but I did not. It is a very big gap between when each one was released. But also, they didn't work on number 2 until they figured out some really cool new art style and had a good story to tell. When there's a story worth telling and you've taken all the time that you need to figure that out and it's time to go, then do it. So if there's a good story for Shrek 5, I'm in. You know, we just got to make sure that we're not sucking it dry like we did to the 4th and the 3rd movie. And again, I think most fans that have grown up with it are becoming directors and producers and casting directors and whatnot. So we understand it better now. We know what we want from another Shrek movie if it were to come. So again, I'm hyped. I'm ready to Shrek it up. It's not all ogre until it's ogre, you know?
Get ready to get Shreked.
Get Shreked.
I don't know if I want to get Shreked. Jesus.
Hey man, somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me.
Listen, Shrek is love, Shrek is life.
Yeah, that's true, exactly. But yeah, I mean, are you excited about this movie? Like, are you looking forward to it? Would you go to the theaters, Raul?
I think there's been enough distance from Shrek that because I remember after the 4th one, I was kind of like, all right, if I don't see another Shrek movie, I'm fine. But there's been quite a distance now since the last Shrek movie, and yeah, and then now with Puss in Boots coming out and being so successful, it has gotten a lot of people interested in this universe, I guess, again. So the fact that they're jumping on this and the success of Puss in Boots and they're kind of striking while the iron is hot right now and saying, well, let's develop a Shrek 5, I think is it's a great business move, you know, and I think a lot of people are kind of ready to jump back into this world now. And I'll be honest, I think I think I'd like to see another Shrek. And especially there's been such a long distance of time now. It's kind of like with the Toy Story films, like with Toy Story 4, it had been so long since Toy Story 3, but because of the distance of time, it was enough time for them to kind of develop it and they decide like, okay, we have a good story to tell, so let's go ahead and tell a story. We weren't trying to rush a sequel out just to rush a sequel out. We have a good story that we can actually tell, and I'm hoping that that's the same case with Shrek 5.
Yeah, I think the animation's going to be different. I do have a feeling about that at least because
updated. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Like the animation they're really following into the Spider-Verse. Like Puss in Boots specifically, when they made their sequel, there was a lot of Spider-Verse art style inspiration in there, which I was all for because it looked incredible. And I will always know that song now of who is the greatest fearless hero? Who is the greatest fearless hero? I mean, come on. You can't go wrong with Antonio Banderas as that beautiful, beautiful cat man. But I think this is going to be a good idea. We'll have to wait and see until a trailer drops. I'm already imagining the Smash Mouth song popping in as like a slow, like energizing trailer song. You know what I mean? The somebody once told me that.
I swear to God, if they do the stupid like solo piano note that they do in all the freaking trailers now, where it starts with the. Ding, 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 ding.
They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it.
That is just a sidebar. That is a very obnoxious thing that trailers do now. I'm so sick of it. I hate the lone solo piano note.
I don't know, man. It gets me every time, but that's because of nostalgia.
Can we stop doing that, please? Let's get away from that. Anyway, back to Shrek.
That's true. Yes. No, I think that's all we have to say about Shrek, though. Unless you have anything else to mention.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to diving back into this. I hope they've got a good story, and I hope they can get everybody back, because that'd be great to get the original cast back.
Yeah, I mean, again, from based on our article, it sounds like they're definitely all coming back. So that'll be really exciting.
And they sound like they want to come back, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, listen, business wise, let's talk about business again. If I was Cameron Diaz, if I was Mike Myers, if I was Eddie Murphy, it's an incredible business strategy to do this again, because now if you're back from your retirement and you want to be the center of attention again in Hollywood, there's your project right there. You know, you do that movie and then you can go out and do other cool stuff, because now you're off talking on talk show hosts and, you know, stuff like that. And your face is going to be seen a lot more now because of Shrek 5.
And it's a new generation. You're being exposed to a new generation, or, you know, a new generation of kids will now discover Shrek.
And Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus will have excuses to put all the Shrek movies on there, and people can watch it on television. All the kids are going to get to know Shrek. Then they're going to make a Shrek TV show called Shrek Juniors, where they
Paramount?
You know, Paramount, right? Because Paramount Plus does all the Nickelodeon stuff.
Yeah, but Shrek isn't a Nickelodeon. Has nothing to do with Nickelodeon.
That's true.
Shrek is DreamWorks, which is owned by NBC Universal.
Then I am wrong.
Peacock. It's going to be on Peacock.
It's going to be on Peacock, yes. It'll be on a streaming service, dang it. But I think everything's a business move, man. But again, even just compared to everything we've been talking about today, everything has to be streaming service related in some way. Like, it's all interconnected so that they can make more money. And every streaming service right now, it sounds like, is playing it safe because they know what we all want already. They don't want to try something new, which, you know, I always say, let's do something new. But then whenever something new comes out, we always complain, oh, this is bad, I don't like it. Well, then what do we do then? We can't do new things if nobody likes new things. Let's just do Shrek 5. But I digress. I'm excited about Shrek 5. I want to see Shrek 5 super bad, but I want to see the animation style. Let's move on, though, shall we? We got our next topic here. We got a live action Moana announced. First of all, okay, this comes to us from Variety. Dwayne Johnson announced a new live-action remake of Moana during the Disney shareholders meeting on April 3rd. He says, humbled to say we're bringing Moana's beautiful story to the live-action big screen. Maui changed my life. Miss you, Grandpa. And I'm honored to partner with... Finally! And I'm honored to partner with Disney to tell our story through the realm of music and dance, which at the core is who we are as Polynesian people, Johnson tweeted. The 2016 animated feature was a hit on Disney, making over $680 million at the box office. The new film will be produced by Johnson, Danny Garcia, and Hiram Garcia through their Seven Bucks production, and Beau Flynn via Flynn Pictures co-executive producers, including Auli'i Cravalho, the voice of Moana in the original film, and Scott Sheldon of Flynn Picture Co., Jared Bush, and Samoan industry leader Dana Lido Miller will also take part in the production. Interesting to note that Moana, the original actress, is also going to be helping to produce this. Will she be a part of it? Are they just going to be taking the live action, all the actors from the movie originally, and just make them all live action? Raul, tell me your thoughts. I know you got some thoughts in there.
I don't like this, man. I don't like this at all. First of all, I'm getting so tired of the live action remakes. I become so apathetic to the live action remakes. Little Mermaid looks cool. It looks gorgeous, and the animation or the effects look really neat. But I just don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, I just don't care about these live action remakes. Moana came out in 2016. 2016. That's less than a decade ago. And we're already doing a live action remake of Moana? Are you serious? Like, it's way too soon. First of all, okay, you read in the quote, the 2016 animated feature was a hit for Disney. Okay, Disney, why aren't we making a sequel? It's 2023 now. Moana came out in 2016. It was a hit. Why has there not been a sequel? I mean, answer me that. Instead of doing a sequel, we're doing a live action remake? I don't understand the choices that are being made with this movie right now. And I love Moana, especially now. My daughter is obsessed with Moana. It's been just lately for the past couple months, it's been nothing but Moana and Encanto on repeat. She's obsessed with those two movies. So I've had a lot of Moana like on my brain lately. And it's just weird to see that this is the choice that they're making with this franchise. I would rather them kind of go down. They just, not too long ago, they announced sequels to like Zootopia, Frozen, Toy Story 4. Why was Moana not part of that? I just don't understand why they're doing this rather than just continuing the beautiful animated film that they came out with in 2016. I mean, God, like I said, we've been watching Moana a lot. It looks gorgeous on my 4K TV. The animation in that film is astounding. The ocean, the water stuff, the hair. I mean, all that stuff. Just, oh my God, it looks gorgeous.
You're making me want to watch it right now, man.
Dude, I swear to God, watch that movie. I mean, it's just the art style is just mind blowing, and you know. So I've been like I said, I've been seeing it a lot lately. I just don't understand why we're doing this, and there's questions on my mind about the Dwayne Johnson's involvement, Alili Carvalho's involvement. How, like, are they just going to be executive producers, or are they stepping back into their roles as the live action version of these characters?
Dwayne Johnson is coming back as his character.
He's coming back as Maui.
Yeah, that was confirmed. He wants to play Maui again.
But as a live action, like,
right.
Why not make a sequel to the movie? Like, okay, that's cool. You want to be the real version. And this is just another, because of with all this Dwayne Johnson stuff, maybe it's kind of coloring my view of him now, because he's just, you know, he just has not been looking great in the public eye lately. So now I'm seeing this. I'm like, well, Dwayne Johnson, he just wants to be in the live action version so he can show his face and all that stuff. That's me being.
You know what though?
It's probably me being petty, but
it's not a crazy thought to have though, because if you look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's career right now, he just did Black Adam, and you know he got like booed on stage when he was trying to present it. Also, the movie failed. It flopped in the box office. So then now he dipped into the DC world and got destroyed. And that's never happened to him before.
And on top of that, he has shot himself in the foot a few times in the fallout of that movie.
And
kind of made him look like a sore loser.
And when you look at Shazam 2 and you see Zachary Levi even talking crap about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, then it's like, oh man, like Dwayne's got to do something. If I were Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, again, business brain putting on right now, I'd think to myself, how can I get everybody to stop thinking about my negative stuff and think about my positive stuff? Well, what was my most positive thing? Oh, Moana was. Let's just do a live action Moana because I want to be on camera again. Okay, good. That'll be my next move. So I think he thought that maybe this would be a good move to do because it would show him on a positive light, you know? However,
sure, come back and voice the character and do an animated version.
But that doesn't show his face, Raul. That doesn't show his face.
Listen, I don't really blame him so much for this as I blame Disney, because Disney with it's getting out of hand with these live action remakes, and they're just not they're not getting out of their own way, you know, with these stupid remakes. And I'm sorry, I'm getting myself worked.
You're good, no worries.
A lot of these remakes have been really good, but it's just been a little too much of an over-reliance on dipping back into this well. And especially one that's so recent as Moana. I think this for me is the straw that breaks the camel's back, you know? Like, sure, all these other remakes, Little Mermaid and stuff, sure, you know, I'm maybe apathetic, but you know what? There's been distance. Okay, I guess now is a good time to remake it. But this movie came out in 2016.
I think it's too soon.
I do too.
If this
just
movie,
make a sequel.
If this movie were to come out in 2026, I'd be like, I guess a 10-year difference. I mean, I guess, but like,
even then, maybe.
It's 2023. It still feels a little too soon. Like, I feel like we just watched Moana a couple years ago. You know, like it's too soon. It feels too soon. Also, I'll say two things here. The first thing is the fact that I believe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is doing a movie about King Kamehameha, who was one of the leaders of Hawaii back in the olden days.
Right.
And he's going to play King Kamehameha. So he's already showing his face as a Hawaiian-esque type. You know, so it's interesting that he wants to do like two different projects of the same type of thing, almost.
I mean, I don't blame him. You know, he's a Pacific Island heritage. I think that's so cool that he wants to show that representation on screen and play characters like that. I think that's awesome. I just think, yeah, he's already got King Kamehameha coming out. Kamehameha. He's got King Kamehameha coming out. But like, why are we
No, I get you. But and also here's my second thing. The fact that Moana ended in a way that you could make a sequel to it. All of the people from the island are venturing out now into the unknown. You know, like that's
movie.
Frozen 3. But no, they could easily make a Moana 2 if they wanted to. And I think if they wanted to. That's stupid.
I mean, they're making sequels to Zootopia and yet another Frozen movie. Like, why was Moana 2 not on the docket there? I just don't understand the choices. It makes no sense to me.
The easiest thing I can think of is they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do for a sequel, which I think is also lazy as a response, but at the same time,
kind of.
I mean, I think I could see a sequel based on the ending of Moana 1, but I don't know what they would want to write about in the sequel. You know, what the volcanoes now come to life and the lava monsters are returning and destroying the earth. That already happened. We got to like existential crisis in movie number 1 already. Are we going to do just that again? Oh, I get it. The thunder gods come down from the heavens and start freaking over the world. That would be interesting, actually.
To explore the different Pacific Island gods. I mean, that's if they were to do a Moana sequel, I'd like to see more of that lore.
But then would it just be Avatar 2?
No.
All right, you're right. Probably right. They're all islanders, visiting other islanders.
Specific. No, Avatar is like a made up fictional kind of.
Yeah,
lore.
Moana's real.
Well, no, but it's based on actual, Pacific Island lore and fantasies and folk tales and all that stuff. So that's stuff that actually exists, in lore and stuff like that can be delved into. I mean, we see stuff all the time, talking about the Greek gods. We've seen plenty of movies and TV shows and stuff cover Greek gods and all that stuff. Why not delve into this? Because this was so unique and so interesting, Matanui and all these legends in the Pacific Island culture. And I would love to see a continuation delving more into that lore. So I just think it's a shame that we're just gonna tell the story again, like, oh, we could go other places, but no, we're gonna tell the story again and make it live action this time.
I do wonder if the idea of representation mattering is like a big deal with their decisions on these live action movies, because I don't know, like if you look at like what other Disney movies from like the 90s, from the golden age of Disney, do we have that could be good representation films? They could do in live action. I don't think there's as many.
Pocahontas for one,
but that movie would get canceled.
Well,
so fast because people have canceled Pocahontas quickly.
I'm sure they could tweak it. I'm sure if they were to remake it, if Disney really wanted to remake it, really wanted to remake it, they would tweak it and make it a little more updated for our modern sensibilities, I'm sure.
How can you listen to Colors of the Wind and not tear up? Because it's a beautiful song, man. Like the music from Pocahontas is gorgeous. The colors, the animation is gorgeous. The storytelling, you're right. Yeah, they'd have to tweak a lot of it, but
they'd have to tweak a lot if they really wanted to do it. And I don't know if they'll ever do it.
Does Disney want to step into that field right now? After all the stuff they're going through as it is.
Right. Again, like if they wanted to do it, but I don't know. There's ways to do it, but this just
that's the thing, man.
So worked up.
We need writers to come up with all these new stories, but what's sad is that the writers are all on strike right now, which brings us to our next topic here. Yeah, that was a good segue right there. Writers Guild of America on strike. So this comes to us from Variety. The Writers Guild of America has proposed allowing artificial intelligence to write scripts as long as it does not affect writers' credits or residuals. The Guild had previously indicated that it would propose regulating the use of AI in the writing process, which has recently surfaced as a concern for writers who fear losing out on jobs. But contrary to some expectations, the Guild is not proposing an outright ban on the use of AI technology. Instead, the proposal would allow a writer to use ChatGPT to help write a script without having to share writing credit or divide residuals. Or a studio executive could hand the writer an AI-generated script to rewrite or polish and the writer would still be considered the first writer on the project. Interesting stuff, Raul, about all these writers. What are your thoughts on all this?
Oh man,
it's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack, but first of all, just in general, AI, you can't go anywhere anymore without hearing something about AI nowadays. You know, AI art, you got ChatGPT, AI voiceover. Oh God. You know, that scares me because us being voiceover artists, you know, we're worried about, just like the writers here in the Writers Guild, we're worried about losing our jobs too. So it's a lot of
there's like AI voiceover that is starting to copy famous voice actors right now. You know, it's kind of crazy.
It's scary. It's very. You can just go on ChatGPT and just prompt and say, write me a movie script about an actual good script about a sequel to Moana. See, Disney, just do that. Just do ChatGPT. It's out there. It's accessible, Disney. Anyway, yeah, you can just prompt and it'll give you, you know, a script. And of course, anytime there's a new tech coming out, you know, somebody's always trying to abuse it. So you got all these kids writing their school papers with ChatGPT. That has actually happened, but it's very interesting. We're getting into this new Wild West with technology and AI, and it is scary. And I totally understand the Writers Guild wanting to make their voices heard about this. So, but this is interesting that they're not proposing a full-on ban, because if we think about it, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It is with us now, and you can't unring that bell, right? So instead of banning it, which just seems unreasonable, this makes more sense as well. Let's use AI. We can work with AI, but still we get credits for it because and that's what I've heard a lot of people talk about just in general about AI and the future of AI. You know, I've been hearing experts in interviews talk about, well, they ask them like, well, are we going to get replaced? And a lot of people I've heard have said, well, ideally what we want to work towards is, instead of AI replacing us, is now just having us working with AI to do our jobs. And that seems like what the Writers Guild is proposing here is you go on ChatGPT, get them to write a script, and that's your first draft. And then you have a head writer or whatnot, then take that first draft and fix it up and actually give it some panache and, we'll punch up a joke here. We'll make this scene even more dramatic there. And that writer will be considered the first writer on the project. I think that's a great compromise.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think you covered all the points there. I mean, I also agree that we got to stick with the times. Listen, technology is going to move whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
We're going to get such advanced stuff in the future, and we just got to work with it. We got to work alongside it. And I'm glad that we're taking the initiative and making laws and rules that say we can't let it control everything about our careers, because we want to be a part of it as much as the robots do, I think if it doesn't work out, the writers are going to be on strike. And I think this also kind of leads me to another point, which is, even as voice actors ourselves, there hasn't been that much work lately for audition stuff for animation or video game stuff, because a lot of writers are trying to go on strike a little bit, and that's just something that's to be expected, but it does kind of tell you a little bit about what the future of some projects might look like. For example, maybe a lot more writing might be not as good in the next couple of years because currently the people who are trying to write stuff are not here, you know? Also, it could tell you that we might not get good content until years later, you know? I don't know.
I mean, for those who remember the writer's strike of '08, that really messed a lot of things up. The second season of Heroes.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that being a big problem. That's anytime I think of the '08 writer's strike, that's what I think of. That's the first thing I think of is the second season of Heroes. But that messed up a lot of kind of storytelling and it kind of delayed a lot of those kind of projects for a while.
Yeah. And I think, it just know that us as listeners or movie fans, there's not much we can do about this except just wait it out and see what the writers end up coming up with and what kind of deals and rules they end up making that can help us all coexist with our own art and our robot friends who are going to be joining us whether we like it or not.
Robot overlords.
Our robot overlords. Yes, indeed. But yeah, so I think we do live in a day and age though where we still have incredible writers, so that at least we have that. Hopefully, the writers of the AI writers don't take over our life in the future. But speaking of writers, we also have people working on other sequels like Gladiator. There's a Gladiator sequel coming up here, and they're adding Denzel Washington and Barry Keoghan. Barry Keoghan, who plays what's his name? The guy from the Eternals movie.
Druig.
He's played Druig, who controls everybody's minds, and he's also the Joker in the Batman.
And Banshees of Inisherin.
That's right. That's right.
He was great in Banshees of Inisherin.
And I haven't seen it. So,
dude,
there's my honesty right there. I've heard it's really good, though. But
it's very good. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It didn't win the Oscar, so who cares?
It was nominated, which means it was very notable.
Yeah, I've heard it's very, very good. But so this comes to us from Variety. Denzel Washington is in final negotiations to join Ridley Scott's upcoming Gladiator sequel, reteaming after 2007's American Gangster. If the deal closes, the two-time Academy Award winner would join newly minted Oscar nominees Paul Mescal and Barry Keoghan, whose participation in the Paramount Pictures film broke Thursday. Paramount has dated the film for November 22nd, 2024. David Scarpa is penning the script for the sequel, which Scott will direct and produce, and Michael Pruss via Scott Free, as well as Doug Wick and Lucy Fisher via Red Wagon Entertainment. Executive producers are Walter Parks and Laurie McDonald. Also returning from the original film are cinematographer John Mathieson, production designer Arthur Max, and costume designer Janty Yates. Listen. I'll speak on behalf of this one because I know, Raul, you haven't watched the first Gladiator movie.
Yeah, I'll explain myself really quick. All right, so yes, this is another one of those gaps in my pop culture consumption, and you know what? I'm starting to notice a pattern here. I think I'm not a big swords and sandals kind of guy. I think that's what it is.
Swords and sandals kind of guy, huh?
I've heard enough great things over the years about Gladiator. It's just I just got to get around to it. I just haven't gotten around to it in my life at all. I'm going to watch it at some point. In fact, I have a feeling this might be the next movie you're going to have me watch.
Maybe.
Unless you decide something else. And I'd be happy to watch it. But yeah, I just never got around to it. Not because I wasn't interested. Okay? Yeah, okay, guys?
Yeah. It has the great famous quote of, "Are you not entertained?"
And I do know that one. I do know that quote.
Which I'm glad you do, because there is a lot of cool pop culture references in that movie. Also, Joaquin Phoenix, I believe, is in it as as the main villain, and he's awesome in that movie as well. I feel like Joaquin Phoenix can literally do anything. And I'm super pumped for Joker 2, by the way. That's going to be so dope with Lady Gaga. But yeah, I think this is a really cool direction to go into. Denzel Washington is incredible.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Dude, when I hear names like Denzel Washington and Barry Keoghan, all I can think is awesome. Like it's gonna be great. I already know it's gonna be great because these guys bust their asses to make it as incredible as possible. They're gonna do the best they can to make this script as awesome as it can be. Their performances are gonna rock it. And I think it's been years since the first movie came out. I think this is the movie that blew up Russell Crowe,
right,
and made him a movie star. So it's interesting to see him agreeing to returning to this movie for a sequel.
Was it like 99, 1999,
I think so.
98?
I think so.
Something like that.
I would have been 4 years old. How
Oh my
crazy is
God.
that?
Oh my
Nuts.
God.
You would have been like 15, right? Right?
I actually had to think about that for a second. I was like 10, 11.
You were like 25, right? When
something like that. Shut up.
You old man. No. He's just as young as I, sort of.
I'm pretty spry, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but look, Denzel Washington, Barry Keoghan. I mean, these are great talents. You know, of course, Denzel Washington. He's a veteran. And very well respected actor in the industry. I mean, these are great picks. These are great.
I'm very sure that when you watch this movie, you're going to love gladiator films and swords and sandal films. Like this movie is the one.
Could.
This is the movie that will make you want to watch more of them. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I very well could. This may get me into Spartacus or something like it. Well, Spartacus on the AFI list, which I've been making my way through. I have not gotten to Spartacus yet.
Spartacus is a great movie. Really, really awesome.
I haven't gotten to it yet.
Have you seen 300?
I think I have.
Oh my God,
years ago, but I don't remember.
Raul.
No, I think I did see it like right when it came out, but I have not revisited it since.
It's a beautiful.
I thought
Zack
it looked
Snyder
really
film.
cool. It's Zack Snyder, right? I mean,
man.
This is kind of like his blowing up was 300.
Yeah,
no,
that and the Sucker Punch movie, like that's what got him Man of Steel, I think.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
how
it's
much
been forever since I've seen it. But yeah, I mean, this looks like the casting is great. I mean, this alone has me intrigued and has me kind of raising my eyebrow and going, maybe I should watch that first one. So,
well, you know what though? I was about to do my segue, but then we continued. You know, Zack Snyder's Superman. Speaking of Superman, you know who else is directing a Superman movie? Mother freaking James Gunn is going to be directing Superman Legacy.
Yeah.
This comes to us from Vanity Fair. James Gunn, who recently took over as one of the heads of DC Studios, will write and direct the next Superman movie, which will inaugurate a new, more interconnected universe for the superhero brand, Warner Brothers announced on Wednesday. Gunn will formally wrap up his ties to comic book rival Marvel this May with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the conclusion of his Misfit Space Heroes trilogy. Then he will helm the first chapter in a planned reboot of the DC Universe, an entirely new take on the Man of Steel called Superman Legacy. It's not clear who will star as Clark Kent's bulletproof alter ego. No casting has been announced, but the film already has a script penned by Gunn himself and a release date, July 11th, 2025. Superman Legacy tells the story of Superman's journey to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing as Clark Kent of Smallville, Kansas. Warner Bros. Said in a statement, "He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way, guided by human kindness in a world that sees kindness as old-fashioned." Man, that sounds incredible. I can only hope that it's going to be incredible when we actually watch it in theaters. They don't have any casting, as it said in the article here. There's no casting currently of Clark Kent.
Too early.
Far too early. But from what I've heard, they're looking for people in their late 20s, early 30s to play the current Superman of this day and age. However, Raul, this always brings me back to the confusion of the DC universe, which is you're going to bring back Aquaman as Jason Momoa's Aquaman, possibly. You're going to bring back
we don't know.
John Cena as Peacemaker. You're going to bring back
we
Waller.
Do know that.
But
you know that too.
But you're not going to bring back Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
That's very interesting decisions to be made. But totally understandable at the same time when it comes to Henry Cavill, because I heard some drama that Henry Cavill thought that he should be making Iron Man level money with Robert Downey Jr. level. Which it didn't make sense based on the box office of how much money he's bringing to the table. But James Gunn, I want to talk about that really quick.
We haven't talked about James Gunn and DC, have we?
No, never.
Yeah, this is the first time we're ever talking about James Gunn having anything to do with DC, right?
No, never. No, that's not even a thing. I didn't even know who he is until today.
Yeah, who James? What? James Gum? What?
James Gum. He blows a lot of gum. That sounds weird out of context. All right, well,
language.
I don't even know what to cover with that one. But
yeah. Well, okay.
Anyways, James Gunn. I think my first thought was, of course, he's going to direct Superman Legacy. Because the man was writing the script himself. I don't know if I would write a script like that. If I'm James Gunn and I'm writing Superman Legacy, and then I get really into this script and I get myself hyped over it, I don't want anybody else directing my movie. I want to do it. I'm a professional director. Why would I not want to direct this movie if I'm super hyped for it? Also, point two or point B is the fact that James Gunn, this dude, this is his first movie that's introducing the DC universe that he wants to bring to the table. So who better to introduce it than the man who wants to run the whole company with Peter Safran, you know? It's a no-brainer that he would end up being the one that helms it. It's also a really good calling card. It's him showing up and showing every other director in town, like, this is my project and this is where I'm headed with it. Whoever wants to join my awesome skills of directing, come join me now, because this is what you've got to look forward to. Raul, what about you? What do you think about all this, my guy?
I mean, you said it. This is a no-brainer. I mean, when we talked about back when James Gunn, at the very beginning of really the end of January, when he made that announcement about the whole first chapter, well, not the whole first chapter, but, you know, a few of the entries that will be known as Gods and Monsters, the first chapter of the DCU. He talked about Superman, and he said he was writing the script, but he did not say he was directing. And I remember in that episode we covered, we talked about there's no way he's writing this movie and not directing it. Right. I mean, it's for whatever reason, he's going to announce, eventually at some point, he's going to announce that he's directing it. There's just, that's who James Gunn is. He directs the films that he writes. They're very close to him. When he writes these films, he sees them fully realized in his head, and he wants to be the one to bring that to life. He wants to be attached to it as director. This is his, you know, this is the epitome of being a creative. You're making a film from the inception, from writing it and then directing it. You know, it's fully realized. So this is how James Gunn operates. He wants to direct the films that he writes, and he always has. So we knew this was gonna. Yeah, we knew this was gonna happen.
And also, Raul, are you confident that James Gunn's Superman movie is gonna be good?
I don't know. I mean, James Gunn is a good writer and a good storyteller, and of course, yes, he has a different tone than what we assume this Superman movie is gonna be, but he has worked quite a long time in this industry, and I think he's developed his writing style, and there's definitely a lot of moments in films that he has made that show heart. You know, the Guardians of the Galaxy films, you know, they're comedies primarily, but you do get a lot of heart in these films, and there's a lot of human moments. So, you know, he can write at least on that level, and there's no reason to think that he's got it in him to do something a little bit different. Why not? Let's give the guy a chance.
Plus, also,
especially if it's something he's so invested in.
Exactly. Yeah. If you look at like Guardians of the Galaxy and look at how much love and attention he put into the Guardians, it's a no-brainer that he's going to do the same with Superman, because he loves the DC universe just as much as he loves Marvel. The fact that he knows so much about the universe already, because he grew up reading the comics. He grew up reading Marvel and DC. Of course, he's gonna try to treat this with so much care. The fact that he named it Legacy is also really impressive, in my opinion. I'm excited about it, because to me it tells me he's trying to be very delicate with how he handles this movie. I don't think we're going to see a regular James Gunn movie. I think we're going to see something crazier, which might be better because of the way that he wants to approach this specific movie. Because like what you said, like he usually does kind of crazier, stranger films. But I think he's a freaking prolific director who knows what he's doing. He's had over 30 years of experience. I don't think anybody should be like, oh, he's gonna ruin it. Because, I mean, come on, guys, we haven't seen any of his projects yet for DC. Wait till they come out.
I mean, it does sound like, you know, other than the movies leading up to the reboot, which is, well, as we've said multiple times, it's kind of fuzzy, it's kind of murky. Other than that, everything else from Superman Legacy on out looks like it's been very painstakingly, meticulously planned out. And James Gunn has been a part of the planning of it. He's been working on it for a few months now with him and Peter Safran. And there's no doubt he's put a lot of thought into this Superman movie and the whole DCU as a whole. This, you know, the first chapter. but definitely specifically this Superman movie. A lot of this kind of screams reverence here. And yeah, even Superman Legacy, and just hearing him talk about it and how invested he is, I do get the sense that there's a lot of reverence on his part for Superman. And you can tell, and he's a fan of this stuff. He's a huge fan of DC. He's a fan of Superman. And you can just tell he really, really respects the source material. He respects the character. And it just makes sense that he's the one, because he's heading the DCU now.
Right.
He's essentially the showrunner of the, if we're to compare this to a TV series of the DCU. It's DCU, the TV series, and each episode just happens to be a full-length film. He is essentially the showrunner of all this stuff, so it just makes sense for him to be the one to direct the first movie out the gate and set the table, set the tone.
And which is very different from Marvel, because I know Jon Favreau directed Iron Man, but he wasn't the main guy. He's not Kevin Feige, you know. It's definitely a weird position to be in when you're the Kevin Feige of this production company. And you're also directing the movie. Like, that's kind of awesome. So we've got a lot to look forward for that. But, that all being said, when it comes to making movies, you know who else is making another movie? Is Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino is working on his final movie, and it's been announced. So this comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. The Movie Critic is the name of the script that Tarantino wrote and is prepping to direct this fall, according to sources. Logline details are being kept in a suitcase, but sources describe the story as being set in late 1970s Los Angeles, with a female lead at its center. It is possible the story focuses on Pauline Kael, one of the most influential movie critics of all time. Kael, who died in 2001, was not just a critic, but also an essayist and novelist. She was known for her pugnacious fights with editors as well as filmmakers. In the late 1970s, Kael had a very brief tenure working as a consultant for Paramount, a position she accepted at the behest of actor Warren Beatty. The timing of that Paramount job seems to coincide with the setting of the script, and the filmmaker is known to have a deep respect for Kael, making the odds of her being the subject of the film more likely. Listen, man, I just know Quentin Tarantino is a lover of movies. The man is a student of filmography. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Film. He's a student of film.
He's a student of film. Filmography. That's what I was trying to say. Filmography. What am I talking about?
That does not apply. He's a student of film.
He's a student of film. The man is, in my opinion, he is a film genius. And I think whatever he's going to work on, I'm always going to be in for that. I hope he doesn't do this as a film that's going to mock movie critics, and that's what the movie's going to be about, because I think that would be a kind of a crummy way to go out. I would hope that this movie is something that uplifts movie critics and says, hey, listen, we need everybody in this industry to be in this, to make this all happen and work. So, the more we all love and respect each other, the better. That would be a great message. However, this is a Quentin Tarantino movie, so I'm expecting there to be some crazy twist ending with crazy action where somebody kills somebody else,
I'm curious. The breakdown of the plot, it doesn't sound like a Quentin Tarantino film. I'm very curious how this story will be realized under the direction of Quentin Tarantino. So, nothing about this screams like, oh yeah, there could be a lot of violence and crazy stuff, in this. But I'm curious. I'm not familiar with the story of Pauline Kael, so I might have to brush up on that. But it is about the film industry, which, like you said, Quentin Tarantino is he's a student of film. He knows his history, and he appreciates the history of film. He's a film nerd. I mean, he just, in all sense of the word.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I wonder what the angle is as far as telling this story and how he's going to tell it.
Raul,
how much of his, staple, kind of Quentin Tarantino, gratuitous kind of action and violence are we going to see?
Well, because we've seen 9 of his movies already, technically 8, I suppose, because Kill Bill 1 and 2, he says it's supposed to be one movie together. I don't know. That's a technical thing. It's to be expected that there's going to be something crazy in his last movie, because, I mean, that's most of his stuff, you know? But also, he makes movies that he loves. He doesn't care about what other people think. He doesn't care if people have a problem with all his bloody, gory, violent stuff, because it's the stuff that cheers him up and makes him love going to the movies. But my question is, Raul, do you think... Oh, wait, what was my question? Hold on a second.
Oh.
Hold on a second. Oh, no, I'm blanking out. Oh, no, here it is.
Moving on to our next topic.
Pokemon. No, I'm just kidding. Soren, my question is for you. Oh, man, no, I just blinked out again. Hold on a second. Oh, my God, this is terrible.
You're allowed a brain fart because I brain fart all the time, so you're allowed one.
Okay, here's my question. Raul.
What's your question?
Do you think Quentin Tarantino is done filming things, period, after this 10th movie, or do you think he's going to do television?
He has always... Oh, that's an interesting question you bring up, because I was going to say, he has always said he's doing 10 films and he's done. That's it. He's going to do 10 and that's it. And he's been very vocal about that and really stuck to his guns about that. And so he's gone on record. This is his final film. Is it? But... You mentioned that film. It's his final film.
Right.
So now you bring up this interesting question about, could he jump to TV? I wonder, because I don't know. He's always been very vocal and adamant about he's doing 10 and that's it. But the guy's a storyteller. You know, he's got ideas, you know, and something tells me that you don't make this film and then just stop having ideas. He's the kind of person that he'll get ideas and he'll roll with them. He'll run with them. So I don't know. I just feel like that kind of thing creatively, that just never ends. You know, for creators, you just keep creating and you can't stop thinking of things to create. And I wonder if this will indeed be his final film. Now, you bring up TV. So in a way, he could still stick to his guns and be like, and actually, you know, put his money where his mouth is. And this very well could be his final film. But he could, if he wanted to tell more stories, there's no reason why he couldn't show run a TV series or something.
Well, this is a pretty good segue into this part of Quentin Tarantino's career, because I don't know if anybody watches Tom Segura's Two Bears, One Cave podcast, but Tom Segura was interviewing Quentin Tarantino a couple of months back, and he was asking him, like, hey, so what's up with TV? Are you going to do any TV stuff? And Quentin Tarantino brought up the fact that he's written a 10-episode miniseries. And
there you go.
He mentioned it. He didn't say that it's officially greenlit and he's going to work on it, but he's like, yeah, I already wrote it. It's just sitting there and I just got to pass it around and see what happens. I'm sure he's not going to do that until he's done with this final movie, but you know, it's something in the air that kind of gives us an idea that, yeah, television could 100% be a route that he takes, you know? But yeah, I think the other thing you mentioned, like, there's no way he can just sit around and be like, I'm retired now, I'm done. There's no way. Come on. Look at Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg's in his 70s or 80s now, and the man is still making movies, and he's still got more to make. You know, so you're telling me Quentin Tarantino, man, I believe he's in his late 60s, early 70s. He is not gonna make any more movies after this? There's no way. No way.
Yeah, like you said, even if he did jump over and did TV, I don't know. I still don't believe that this man's not going to make another movie again after this. I don't know. We'll see. But I just feel like that shit just doesn't leave you. You know, I mean, we saw what happened with John Williams. He retired and then he unretired. You know what I mean? Because he needs that creative, itch to be scratched, you know? And I feel like, especially someone like Quentin Tarantino, who's so passionate about films specifically, not TV, but films. I think we're going to get more Tarantino films. Maybe not for a long time. He might take a break and just do TV for a number of years, but I think he'll eventually go back to doing more films.
And you
just can't take it out of him.
And I'll leave it with this one last thing, which is the first thought in my head of a TV series he should work on is a third Kill Bill project. It's a TV series that's supposed to be Kill Bill 3, continuing that story when the main character, she kills one of her enemies who had a daughter, and she was like, hey, if you ever want to kill me, get older, get stronger, and come back and find me, and I'll be waiting for you. That would be an incredible story, to see that little girl grow up and become this grown adult who's like an assassin and tries to find her, our main character from Kill Bill, and kill her. It'll be called Kill Her, not Kill Bill.
The Bride.
Kill the Bride.
It's
the final story of Kill Bill. And I think that'd be a really great punch in the face, as like, hey, I'm back, but with TV this time. I'm Quentin Tarantino. That's my Quentin Tarantino impression.
Very spot on Tarantino.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. The way he laughs, have you heard that before?
Are you doing the Crypt Keeper? What is
yes,
that?
Pretty much. I love you, Quentin Tarantino. But no, I think hold on a second. I think the screen just froze. Hold on a second.
Oh boy.
Yes, that was the Crypt Keeper. Thank you. But no, so I think it'll be interesting to see Quentin Tarantino, what he's got up in store. But our last final topic of the day, speaking of other movies and stuff, is Kevin Feige and Patty Jenkins' Star Wars movies have been scrapped. So this comes to us from Variety. We have here, one moment. There's been a disturbance in the Force, and that spells bad news for fans awaiting the films expected from Patty Jenkins and Kevin Feige. The rocky reboot of the Star Wars franchise since 2015 has been marred by creative issues, director firings, and generally bad decision-making. The bad luck has continued with the news from Variety that Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, as well as Marvel Studios president Feige's untitled project, have both been shelved indefinitely. While the Star Wars franchise continues to do moderately well through Disney+, The Mandalorian accepted, the show from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni is a critical darling and beloved by fans. The feature films under the Disney Lucasfilm banner have seen a lot of diminishing returns. The current slate of Marvel films has not been quite as well critically received, which could perhaps be a contributing factor to Feige's parting ways with Lucasfilm. Unlike Jenkins, he will have plenty to keep him occupied with another 19 Marvel projects currently announced and in various states of development. Raul, what are your thoughts on all this first? I'm curious about how you feel about all this.
I mean, I especially with the Patty Jenkins thing, like, the writing was on the wall with that. I mean, it was just, they were going to cancel it. They had said for a while, they were like, oh, we're shelving it and we're just kind of pushing it back indefinitely. And at that point, I was like, this movie's not happening. And then they canceled the Taika Waititi one, right?
No, it's still kind of in development.
Is it?
I think it's in the same place as like the Rian Johnson movie stuff. Like, it's up in the air. They're saying, oh no, we'll work on that at some point, but I don't think it'll ever happen. But they've never said it's not happening. You know,
we'll see.
I
don't know. Like we were saying, Star Wars Celebration is happening right now. In fact, today is the first day of celebration. It's April 7th right now as we're recording this. So we'll definitely get into some deep dives when we do our Celebration episode and see what comes out of Star Wars Celebration as far as further announcements about maybe Taika Waititi or anything like this. But yeah, and then the Kevin Feige thing, like, I did not see this happening at all. I mean, with everything going on over at Marvel right now and him already being spread too thin, and now, you know, with everything coming out with Phase 4 and beyond, with all the issues and having to cancel projects and shuffle dates around as a result of, you know, just the quality control issue going on with the Marvel films lately, Kevin Feige has to kind of refocus and put more of his time and energy into the Marvel films. Like, he's got to come back and deal with this right now. So there's no way he really can peel himself away and do a Star Wars film.
It's a really good call to do that, though, too. I think it's better to play it safe with that, because it's true what this article's saying. Like, Marvel has not been doing very well lately. Like, I've said a bunch of times already that I feel like the magic of Marvel is kind of starting to disappear, and it scares me, because I'm more excited now about possible DC movies than I am about Marvel currently. Right. And that's not a good sign. Like, I think ever since Bob Chapek left, I think people have been able to breathe again. And Bob Iger must have looked at Kevin Feige and was like, "Bro, you are stressed. Let's help you out a little bit. Let's scrap a few Star Wars projects off your hand because clearly it's not time for that right now. Maybe in the future. I think this could be a possible thing. What if Kevin Feige finishes the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the next 5 to 10 years, 5 to 8 years possibly, and then they move him on to Star Wars and he becomes Kathleen Kennedy, but for Star Wars?
I don't know about him becoming the new Kathleen Kennedy, but I will say this is just my guess. I'm basing this on nothing except for pure speculation. I think after Secret Wars, Kevin Feige's done. I think he's done.
It's weird. Like, I feel the same way about that.
I think this is he's going to finish out Secret Wars, get all the way up to the culmination of these new 3 phases. And I think he's done. And if, they want to continue the Marvel films after that, sure. But I think Kevin Feige I think he's working his way to Secret Wars being his legacy and what he leaves Marvel with.
And also, I think there's other producers at Marvel that work alongside Kevin Feige. Like I know he's like the face of Marvel right now, but there are other producers sitting next to him that are just as passionate about Marvel. They're just not as well marketed, So if Kevin Feige were to leave and do something different, he would have people who are in the same mindset and headspace as Kevin Feige, which that's why I'm a little more reassured about it, I'd love to see Marvel do well afterwards. I don't want them to fail, but if Kevin Feige were to move on and do something else, good for him. I'm sure he deserves to retire if he wants to retire as well. Yeah. But yeah, I think also just the fact that even Patty Jenkins' gig is gone as well. I've seen a couple articles saying like, well, the Rogue Squadron thing, like it's not like officially off the table, but we're just shelving it for now. Like it's not gone. It's still a possibility. But to be honest, if you want to see some space battles, watch Mandalorian season 3 because there's a lot more space battles in season 3, and it's pretty dang cool.
Yeah. It's just been a lot of with Lucasfilm and Star Wars. It's just been a lot of announcing stuff, and then we hear nothing about it, and then things change, and then this isn't happening anymore, or this director left, or we're having an issue with this script, or it's just been so much of that kind of stuff. And again, I'm very curious to see what comes out of Star Wars Celebration. What do they have?
Yeah. And what are they not canceling?
Projects? What are they not canceling? What are they moving forward with? Again, we're gonna talk about it next week, but this has just been an issue with Star Wars lately. Is just not having any kind of momentum going with films. Like when was the last, not the Last Jedi? When was the Rise of Skywalker? 2019. Yeah. 2019. We're in 2023 now, and there still hasn't been another film. And we've heard nothing ever since 2019. We've heard nothing but announcements about we're coming with, in addition to like, we're doing Mandalorian, we're doing shows. We've heard a bunch of announcements about we got a movie coming out. We're working on this. We got Benioff and Weiss. We got Rian Johnson doing a trilogy. We got Taika Waititi. Here's Kevin Feige. Here's Patty Jenkins. Crickets. Like, we don't know anything. It's 2023, and we haven't heard any forward motion, any forward movement on any of these projects.
I feel pretty confident about the new announcements, though, which, again, we will discuss in our next episode.
We'll see,
but
yes.
They have been announcing new movies, finally, and so I'm hoping this will be for real this time, especially now because they have Bob Iger on top. He's back, baby. Bob Iger is back. So I think with him back, it's probably more likely that he'll ensure that these people stay and nobody's going to get fired this time around. I think Kathleen Kennedy has probably just made bad choices firing so many people. I think the fact that she's known to be the person who fires all these directors is kind of crazy. You should already know what directors you want from the beginning. When you sign these people, you guys need to be on the same headspace already on what you're doing with these projects. So the fact that she has a bad rep for this is not good. But Kathleen Kennedy is one of the greatest producers who's ever lived. Quote by Steven Spielberg himself, So there's got to be something that we got to start nailing in the head now because this is getting a little out of hand. I'm still very excited about Star Wars, so I'm hoping this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the good stuff. But if it means Kevin Feige needs to go, if it means Patty Jenkins needs to go, that's totally fine. I'm totally okay with that.
We shall see.
We shall see.
I have nothing more to say because again, we've got Celebration we're going to talk about, and so
Yeah.
I'm just kind of holding my breath to see what happens after this weekend.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, with that being all said, we made it to the end. No, we didn't. We didn't make it to the end, guys. We made it to the trailers. We got to talk about our trailers released this month. We did finish our 10 topics, by the way. Thank you all for listening for those topics. If you don't care about trailers, it's fine, but we're going to talk about trailers. We had less trailers this month to really discuss, so I'm sure we can get a little deeper into these guys.
We can also there's another trailer we can talk about that's not on this list that came out pretty recently.
Okay. Oh well, let's see. Well, first we got
spider-related trailer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. All right. So then we got the Little Mermaid full trailer came out this past month in March. We also had a Secret Invasion full trailer that came out a couple days ago. Now in April, which we're in right now. Blue Beetle came out recently as well, and the Barbie full trailer came out as well. And then, of course, the one Raul is referring to, Across the Spider-Verse, also dropped. Any of these?
Just like a couple, 3-4 days ago.
Yeah. So let's talk about Spider-Verse, because it's definitely a pretty deep cut kind of trailer. That was pretty interesting. What do you think about it, Raul?
I think it looks really cool. I think we're gonna get all these different animation styles, and we finally got our first look at the Spot, voiced by Jason Schwartzman, which I think is really cool. I'm curious to they say he's going to be the villain, but he seems like kind of a goofy villain. So I'm wondering how threatening he's going to be. Is he going to be played for just laughs, or if he's going to end up being like a really real threat by the end of the film or something? But
I think
it just looks. What's that?
I think the latter, like the second part of that, because
I think so too. I think we're going to see a character development with him. But
yeah.
In general, this movie visually looks astounding.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see all the different animation styles. I think they've said like maybe 6+ different animation styles we're going to see in this film. Probably.
Yeah.
And it's just cool that they're continuing the human story, the emotional story, and him being he's now living in a moment in his life where he's now the first movie, and I can't remember where I heard this, but they did a great breakdown of this, and it's so good, is that the first movie is like him discovering that he can be a hero, right? He can be part of the, he's doubting himself, but no, you can be a Spider-Man and you can live up to it, right? Now the second movie is now, well, no, I don't want to be like you guys. I want to be my own Spider-Man.
Right.
So it's a really kind of interesting dynamic that going from the first movie to the second movie. And
also,
so it just, yeah.
If we could talk about some little tiny detail stuff, Raul and I, we are Puerto Rican, and I would be lying if I didn't say that I got giddy whenever I see the mom snapping and a little Puerto Rican flag kind of shows up with her snaps. Because that's the kind of stuff where there's a lot of people who say representation, like, oh, who cares about representation matters? Like it's just if the story is good, then that's what matters. While I do agree that the story should be good, as someone who gets to experience representation on camera at times like this, I get really hyped about that stuff, and it really goes to show how much representation really does matter.
It was very exciting to see. It was very cool. I mean, when his mom snaps, it just took me right back to my mom when I got in trouble. And I'm going to give a little inside baseball here. I'm the person who animated that shot. His really great, awesome animator named Daniel Ceballos. And if you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, that is indeed my brother. And he has been working as an animator on Spider-Verse. He's an animator for Sony. And he worked on that shot. And as soon as the trailer dropped, he went out on social media and talked about how he fought to have that little Easter egg in there. He pitched the idea of the snap and the Puerto Rican flag, and he fought to get it in there. He pitched it to them, and they went with it. And it's in the movie now.
And it has,
and
I've seen only positive thoughts about that tiny little detail.
It's so I'm such a proud big brother right now. I mean, he's it was so great, and then just hearing all the feedback from other people, like Puerto Ricans coming out and saying, "Oh, this makes me so happy.
Bro.
I'm so glad to see this," and it just warms my heart. And Daniel, I'm proud of you, man. Good job.
I'm proud of you too. All of the Puerto Ricans are proud of you, my friend. Boricua. ¿Qué pasa? Wepa! Yeah, I mean, dude, that's the thing is when you see stuff like that, like, all right, listen. I'm always excited for Hispanic characters showing up on television, but as soon as it's Puerto Rican specifically for me, that's when I lose my mind because I don't know if we get enough of that. I want to see more Puerto Ricans.
You don't see a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I have such a soft spot for Miles Morales because he's half Puerto Rican, and I'm like, yes, represent. All right, let's go.
And you're going to see a lot. It looks like there's going to be a lot of him and his mother. It looks like he's going to have a lot of good moments with Rio, his mom.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar in that, like, the first movie was a lot of relationship with him and his dad. In this movie, it looks like we're going to get a little more of his mom and her guidance throughout this film. It just looks so good. And I'm hoping it's at least as good as the first one. And I'm rooting for it to do well because, of course, I may be a little bit biased because, my brother's involved in it. But
it's going to be awesome.
I mean, just from an unbiased third-person perspective, it does look freaking cool.
And also, let's also just quickly go through the story stuff because, like, it looks so cool. The fact that there's like a Spider-Verse team that Miguel is starting to put together, Spider-Man 2099. He's putting this team together, and Miles is not invited, and he wants to be a part of it, but he's apparently not cool enough because of specific reasons that we don't know about. And that trailer gave us a lot of cool details about Miguel as a character. How much is at stake for him as well?
Played by Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac's character. And also, we also get to see Peter B. Parker return with his kids.
Oh my God, with the when he comes in crawling on the ceiling and he's got the baby in the carrier, that was hilarious.
Mayday Parker, man. That's going to be so cool.
Right.
Mayday Parker, and also we've got the rock and roll Spider-Man. We get to see the PS4 version of Spider-Man in this movie as well as a little reference. There's so much love and care put into this movie trailer itself that I'm so hyped for it. I'm so hyped.
Such attention to detail.
And I know last month we reported that maybe some of the story is kind of having issues here and there, but I don't know. Listen, I think the directors of these movies, they write as they go, and that's how they worked on the first movie as well. So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say I can't judge it until I see it. So we'll have to wait and see. I think it comes out in June or May. One of those 2 months. Was it June?
June.
It was like June 20th or something like that.
I think June.
Well, then also, speaking of Hispanics, Blue Beetle, that trailer came out, and that got me hyped because I was like, George Lopez, bad. That's cool. That's awesome. I can't wait to see that. It looks like an origin story, but I like the idea that the movie's starting to focus more on family than it is about just an origin story of a superhero. I like that the family already knows that he's Blue Beetle. And I've heard so much about Blue Beetle. We've reported so much about Blue Beetle. Yeah. The costume looks comic authentic. It looks really cool. And also, let me jump back to Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion looks interesting. However, I will say, again, the thing I was saying earlier, how I felt like the magic of Marvel is starting to die out a little bit. I'm really hoping this show nails it because I need that spark to come back to me,
I still haven't seen anything from it that's really got me psyched. I mean, it looks intriguing. But other than that, I'm like, okay, Fury's back. This Ben Mendelsohn's character's back. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I'm intrigued.
Ben Mendelsohn.
I'm Mendelsohn. I'm intrigued, but I'm not excited yet.
Right. Yeah, and then also Little Mermaid. I think the only thing that really caught my attention was Melissa McCarthy as Ursula.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, all right, we finally get to see her face, and I think she looks cool. I think she looks awesome.
Got the voice and the cackle, which she does really well. It sounds really good.
Granted, I also, you guys already know how we feel about live action Disney movies right now at this point. They might as well just get it over with so we can just watch it and move on.
Yeah.
But that being said, it does look beautifully shot. Like the cinematography looks gorgeous. The music sounds awesome. And I'm sure it's going to be a good movie either way. I'm sure it's going to be a shot for shot. Sorry to say that, but you can't hate it if it's a shot for shot. I mean,
yeah.
then why make the movie at all? You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot.
The
in
trailer
there.
looked cool and interesting, but I'm just like I said, I'm just so apathetic to these live action remakes. I'm just like, all right. If I happen to see it, cool. If I don't, I don't know. Unless it comes out and everybody just is raving about it and it's like super, super good, and maybe I'll check it out. But I don't know. Cool. It looks cool. That's all I can say about it.
It looks cool. No, that's really all we can say. Well, then that's all the trailer stuff. Let's just quickly discuss movies that came out this past month. We got Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. We got Creed III, Scream 6, Shazam 2, 65. A lot of numbers today. should I drop a beat right now? But no, I think I saw Scream. No, not Scream. I'm sorry. I saw Shazam, and I saw what was it? Oh, John Wick 4. I forgot to put that one. John Wick 4, Creed 3, Scream 6, 65, Shazam 2, all these sequels and whatnot. But yeah, John Wick 4 and Shazam 2 is what I saw. What did you see?
You didn't? Did you say you saw Creed? Also?
No. I only saw 2 of those movies.
I've seen Shazam and I've seen Scream 6.
Nice. Do you? Out of all those movies so far, I'm guessing family wise, we'd both probably recommend Shazam 2 because it genuinely is a good family movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good family movie. I think it's not, I don't think it's as good as the first one. If you want to hear our thoughts about it, though, you can always go check out our Shazam Fury of the Gods review in the podcast feed. It's literally the last episode we did before this one. But I'm going to talk about Scream 6 because this movie was so freaking fun. I really enjoyed it. It was just, I don't know. It's weird. Like after 5 movies, because Scream 5 I really enjoyed, and I feel like after it's in its 6th film, and I feel like it's just now really starting to hit its stride. It's you know what I mean? Like the first Scream, classic, right? Really good. The second, the third, and the fourth for me are like, okay, fine. The first one I still like the best, but then 5 comes out, and that one was really good. And I really enjoyed it. And it got me intrigued in the franchise again. And then Scream 6 comes out. And my God, it was just, it was so riveting. It was a great time in the theater because we got a babysitter to watch our daughter and my wife. We both went out to watch this as a date night movie. And it's just a lot of fun. And they really lean into all the tropes that they do with all the Scream films, but they, again, and I don't know how they're going to keep making more of these films and not run out of these tropes, because it's like each film, they kind of twist everything on its head. So where you're like, at first you're like, oh, I think I see where this is going to go. And then they kind of twist it around. You're like, oh shit, well, that's okay. But I don't know how they're going to keep doing it.
Also, that's starring Jenna Ortega, right? Who plays Wednesday Addams?
Yes, Jenna Ortega, who has had a great year with Wednesday.
Yeah, for real.
And now she's here. She was in Scream 5 as well. And the cast is very good. I mean, the cast, they kind of, there was a transition with 5 where we go from the old cast to this new cast. And this new younger cast gets carried over into this new film. And they do a phenomenal job. I'm invested in their characters as much as I was invested in the original characters.
Well, I saw John Wick 4, and that is just, I mean, listen, if you like action films, if you like bloody, gory gunfights, this is the movie for you. 1,000%. This is the best John Wick movie out of all of them.
Really?
In my opinion, it is the best one of them all.
I gotta watch it.
And obviously, you're going to be able to tell that they're trying to expand the universe, so they're going to do a lot more, they're not going to do like a John Wick's 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of thing. I think they're trying to do even more movies just outside of the John Wick specific series. So I think, what am I trying to say here?
Well, they're working on a spin-off with Ana de Armas.
Oh my God, that was the word I was looking for. They're doing more spin-offs. Ana de Armas is coming in doing the ballerina.
Right.
So that'll be interesting.
Is there still going to be a show about the Continental?
The Continental, I believe that might still be happening. We'll have to double check that though. But yeah, they are definitely doing this. This goes back to the beginning of our topics today. Everything's about streaming and expanding universes. So it's smart of Warner Brothers to want to do that. I think this is an HBO Max film, right? It's going to be on HBO Max when it comes out to streaming, right?
Oh,
the John Wick
I don't
series.
know.
Well, if it is,
I think it's a Lionsgate production.
It's a Lionsgate production. Okay, well,
so I don't know where Lionsgate, if they have a deal with any kind of streaming service or not. It may end up on Netflix. I'm not sure.
Well, it still brings me to the point that all the series on streaming are trying to expand and become bigger, as big as they can, because everybody's following Disney and what they're doing, because it's working. So according to everybody else, I suppose. That being said, again, if you like action, this is filmed by a director who used to be a stunt choreographer, or I believe still is, and went from stunt choreography to directing. He also directed Deadpool 2. He directed the first 3 John Wick movies he directed. So he's back for one last one of these John Wick movies, and then it's crazy. It's a crazy time, and if you like Donnie Yen, I hear
he's a scene stealer.
He is a scene stealer. This might be one of his best movies, in my opinion. So yes, go check it out. He also plays a blind man in this one. So I was like, man, what's up with him being blind in all these movies? First Star Wars, Rogue One, now this. Okay, let's see. I mean, it works for him because, he does a good job. He knows how to play blind really well. Now,
I also want to see Dungeons and Dragons. I have not.
Man,
I've heard that's good. I've heard it's really good.
I got a puppy.
Mario came out too.
Mario came out as well. Oh my God,
that's good.
Well, now in April. Not in March.
This wasn't a March release, but still.
Right. But I've heard a lot of good things about Mario. This past month's list, though, I've wanted to see all of these movies, and I haven't had the time to see all of them.
It's hard.
So
it's hard to get out.
I'm trying to get myself into theaters to get these guys going.
You got a puppy. I got a toddler. We're trying, man. We're
That's
trying, guys.
Is. We're daddies in different ways. That sounds weird as well. Anyways, well, this past month, we got to talk about our Movie of the Month challenge, a quick segment where we challenge each other to watch a movie we haven't seen yet. This episode's Movies of the Month were, for Raul, Detective Pikachu, and for me, Taxi Driver. So, Raul, you were telling me some positive stuff about Detective Pikachu before we started recording today. So, tell me your thoughts, my good man.
I really enjoyed this movie, and I had always heard great things about it. But it's just one of those things I just never got around to seeing it. I always wanted to, but just never did. And I finally, for this podcast, had a great excuse to do so. And it was so much fun. I mean, it was very delightful. This is definitely the closest thing we're going to get to a Pokemon live action film, which was very satisfying in that way. You know, of course, it's more about Detective Pikachu and Justice Smith. Is that the main character, the actor?
I think so.
Justice Smith's character. It really focuses on them, but you get, I mean, this is basically a Pokemon the live action movie. You get all the lore and everything that goes with it, and you see all sorts of Pokemon, and it was just a lot of fun. And
also, you can't go wrong with Ryan Reynolds, right?
And Ryan Reynolds, and I was always curious about, like, why does Pikachu sound like Ryan Reynolds? Like, I'd never understood that, you know, it didn't make any sense to me, but the movie does a very good job explaining all that. And there are a couple things that I was confused, like logistically, story-wise. I was like, how does that work exactly? You know, well, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but there were some things that were really hard for me to wrap my mind around, like logistically, and just, I things that weren't explained very well as to how they worked. But all in all, it was a very fun movie, and it was very funny. I was grinning almost the whole movie. I was grinning from ear to ear, and I loved all the Easter eggs. I love seeing, oh my God, all the Pokemon. I mean, it's one thing to see them in like 2D form, but seeing them realized in 3D
looks really cool.
they've always been cute, but seeing them realized in 3D like in our real world, I want a Pokemon so badly. They all the Pokemon look so freaking cute in this movie.
Mm.
Even Pikachu, I mean all of them, they all look so cute. Yeah, this was a fun time. Had a blast.
It's a fun time. Also, when you see the big boss towards the end, which I won't reveal because I'm not sure if anybody else wants to watch this, but when you see the big boss at the end, you're like, oh my god! Like it's pretty epic. It's pretty
really
awesome.
Cool. It's
and
really
also,
cool.
I think that's the movie that put what's her name? I think Catherine Newton. On the big screen, like that's how a lot of us got to know who this actress was. For those of you who aren't sure who that is, that's the girl who plays the daughter, Cassie Lang, in Quantumania. I think after that movie came out, I think, for Kevin Feige must have been like, ooh, that girl's pretty big. Let's replace the girl who plays Cassie in Endgame with her. Let's do that right now.
And now I'm curious about, because as we talked about in our last episode, which is the whole reason why I'm watching Detective Pikachu, is that we were talking about they're going to make a sequel.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see what they do with the sequel.
And it wasn't a topic of the day, but apparently they did find a director for Detective Pikachu 2 recently. I don't remember the name of the guy, but I saw the article as I was scrolling through. I will have to double confirm, triple confirm even, just to make sure that is a real thing. But I believe they found a director for number 2. I don't know what they're going to do with it based on the ending of Detective Pikachu, which we won't spoil. But, that's something to think about, I suppose. Now, on my end, I watched Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro. And you know what? This was a movie that I needed to have seen ages ago, because I don't know why I'd never seen it before, but now I did. And so I will say right now, I loved it. It's a great movie, phenomenal film. I see now why Robert De Niro blew up the way he did. It's an incredible performance by Robert De Niro. Also, man, I wish I would have seen this before I'd seen Joker. Because everybody, including you, including Chad, all our buddies, are all saying, man, this is very inspired by Taxi Driver. And I think, what's the other movie called? The Comedian?
The King of Comedy.
The King of Comedy. Now I see the connections.
Scorsese
I felt like I was watching Joker, but in a different universe, like some other form of it. And of course, Martin Scorsese helped produce Joker. So like, it was his way of saying, it's okay if you take my ideas. Like, it's fine. Just know that I'm on top. I'm in charge.
Right.
But if you're going to copy Martin Scorsese, you better copy Taxi Driver, because that is a great way to translate a story for Joker. But yeah, again, I don't want to spoil too much about Taxi's ending, but there was a lot to kind of take in. It talks a lot about mental health awareness stuff and how we feel about our society and as a whole. Did it make me depressed afterwards? A little bit, but I was very impressed by the level of quality that it was. I mean, it's a Martin Scorsese film. Go figure, right? I will argue my favorite film of his is Goodfellas. So that will always be in my heart.
Great film.
Really, really great film. But yeah, no negative thoughts in my end, to be honest. It's phenomenal. I thought the movie was phenomenal. But now we have to give each other our next movies of the month. Oh, did you guys watch these movies, by the way? Let us know at realgeeknews@gmail.com. Let us know what you guys thought. And stick around for the next movies as well, because we're about to give each other the list right now. For you, Raul, I already know what we're going to give you, and you know as well. Yes. We're going to do Gladiator for you.
Gladiator.
But now, what am I going to watch? That is the question.
Well, all right, going through my list here of movies I'm trying to recommend. Have you seen Apocalypse Now?
Yes.
All right, moving on.
Taking that off the list. Mel Gibson cannot lie.
Have you seen North by Northwest?
North by Northwest. I'm going to say no.
Hitchcock. All right.
Hitchcock. All
the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. North by Northwest, starring Cary Grant. Watch it.
Yes.
Very well done. Very well made film. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right then, you guys. With that all being said, We made it to the end! Thanks for listening, everybody. You can follow us on Instagram at Real Geek News. You can also follow our separate handles on Twitter and Insta at Kevin A. Rivera VO and Raul Ceballos VO.
That's right. We also have a YouTube channel. Got our YouTube channel with all our episodes and movie reviews, and then we also break our episodes down into clips for each topic that we talk about. Hit up that YouTube channel, search Real Geek News, REEL Geek News, and just hit that like button, subscribe. What else do they say? The bell?
You know what they say on the
all
YouTube.
That stuff, smash that like button. Anyway, but also, if you want to help further get ears and eyes on the show, please leave us a good review on Apple Podcasts, and we really appreciate it. Give us a good 5-star written review.
Or give us a 2-star. Hey, if you think we're
Kevin,
bad, let us know. Because
we're not doing that.
We can only be better. We can become better.
Only good reviews.
Only
good. You can send us an email if you want us. If you have something you want to complain about.
If you give us a bad review, we'll kill you. Yeah, finally, want to share your passionate thoughts and opinions about movies? Any movies you'd like us to do? Any reviews you'd like us to do? Well, then send us an email at realgeeknews@gmail.com. Real, R-E-E-L, geeknews@gmail.com. We'll leave all the descriptions below. With that all being said, stay safe, stay classy, and most important of all,
stay geeky, my friends.